dailynews.com.
Peterson Insurance Services in Clinton is a 2014 Pekin Insurance Illinois Agency of the Year. Jay Peterson here from Peterson Insurance. Find out about Pekin's auto, home, or life insurance by clicking on our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
News time is 6 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Tuesday. Top of the morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded 7 o'clock newscast brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters. Here's what we have coming up for you in news on this Tuesday. It's Election Day. We've got a preview of the mayoral election, the mayoral election in Clinton for the vacant mayor seat with 2 years remaining on that term. The Clinton Community Education Foundation is trying out a new fundraiser this weekend. That story comes up next. There's a couple of contested races in the local area, a couple for the Lincoln City Council and the Heyworth School Board. In fact, the Heyworth School Board, even after today's election, will have a vacant seat on their Board of Education. We'll hear about that coming up in news on this Tuesday. And to wrap us up today, Mount Pulaski schools are adding shooting sports to their extracurricular offerings. Those stories to come today in news. But first, we stream to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Clinton residents today will decide who finishes out the 2 years remaining on the mayor's term on the Clinton City Council. For the last week, regional radio listeners and readers of DeWittDailyNews.com have heard from 5 of the 6 candidates seeking to fill the 2 years remaining on the term left vacant by Roger Cerulik, who abruptly resigned the post in the summer of 2023. The candidates running for mayor include Doug England, Kelly Harvey, Robert Kreitler, Helen Michelossi, Seth Reddington, and Doug Tucker. 5 of the 6 candidates recently participated in a candidates forum night at Clinton High School hosted by WHOW. They weighed in on the issues facing Clinton in the years ahead. You can hear that forum in its entirety at DeWittDailyNews.com and by clicking on the mayor's candidate forum at the top of the homepage. Also, keep it to regional radio tonight. We'll have coverage of this election night after the polls close. You'll hear Sox baseball, but we'll interrupt the Sox throughout the night for those updates. Again, right here on WHOW and at DeWittDailyNews.com. The Clinton Community Education Foundation is trying out a new fundraiser this weekend. Chris Schaefer is the secretary of the CCEF and explains they're hosting a Kentucky Derby trivia night. This replaces the Derby Day fundraiser, the foundation's popular fundraising event for many years.
In lieu of our Derby days, we're having a Kentucky Derby trivia night. It's going to be April 5th. Doors open at 5:30. It's going to be at the Heights School, and trivia starts at 6 o'clock. And you can go to our website, which is CCEF15.org, and find out information about that. But we're going to be sponsoring up to 15 trivia teams. We're hoping lots of folks come because this will be our major fundraiser for the spring. Going a different way this year, hopefully attract a few more people. CCEF board has purchased a trivia package, so the questions are all vetted and all of that kind of good stuff, but we'll be running it. In addition to the trivia contest, we'll have 50-50 raffles. We'll have a silent auction, so there's lots of opportunities. We'll have refreshments, so we're glad to have anybody and everybody come join us.
Up to 15 teams can participate in this fundraiser, and teams can include as many as 10 players.
I don't know. One of our board members is in charge, and we're sponsoring up to 15 teams, and I don't know where the status is yet. We'll have a meeting in another week, and we'll give a heads up at that time. So up to 10 people in one team. So we have a Facebook page, Clinton Community Education Foundation. So you go on there and you can see what's going on, like us and follow us, and that's another great way to get information.
The event is at Clinton High School this Saturday, April 5th. Get more information and register at CCEF15.org. Follow the CCEF on Facebook and Instagram for more information on all the happenings within the organization. They recently distributed $22,000 in teacher grants last month across the district's buildings. A couple of seats on the Lincoln City Council will be contested in today's general election. On the WHOW Morning Show Monday, Lincoln Mayor Tracy Welch indicates Alderman Steve Parrott and Wanda Rolfs will have their seats up for re-election with challengers in each ward.
Yeah, tomorrow's election, there's some uncontested races, but there are a couple contested races, one in Ward 1 and one in Ward 3. And we just encourage everybody to get out there and do your research and then choose the candidate that you feel is best to help move the city forward. In Ward 1, Alderman Steve Parrott, he is running to keep his seat, and he is running against Seth Goodman. And Seth was a former council member as well, and mayor. So that's a race in Ward 1. And then Ward 3 is another race that's going on, and that is Dennis Clemens. And Dennis was the nominee coming out of the primary, and he's running against a young lady named Taylor Lyons. So all good candidates, and I think they'll all do well and help the city of Lincoln.
According to the mayor, every other election cycle, half of the city council is up for re-election.
The way our council works is every 2 years, there's a seat from every ward that is up for election. And so, if you view our council meetings and you look at the camera, all of the seats on the right side of the room, they are up for election this year. And then one seat on the left-hand side, Mr. Sanders had to run because he was an appointment. And then next, in 2 years, it'll be all of the seats on the left-hand side of the room.
Keep it to regional radio once the polls close for election coverage in central Illinois. A McLean County School District is going to be a board member short after today's general election. On the WHOW Morning Show Tuesday, Superintendent of Heyworth Schools, Dr. Lisa Taylor, told regional radio they have 4 board seats up for re-election on the school board.
And there is an election Tuesday, so 4 board seats up in Heyworth. And we will not fill one of them because we have congressional districts. So we'll be having to advertise for that and get a new board member to fill the vacant spot. And so after the election, it really will be closing out the final things for this year and starting to financial plan for next year.
According to Dr. Taylor, most of the interest in being on the Board of Education in Heyworth resides in the largest part of the community. She indicates they will be seeking someone from the rural areas of the district to represent those individuals.
There's 4 for 2 spots, so those ones are contested, and 1 based on her district will automatically be in, and then 1 will be vacant. So we have congressional districts. We have 8, and every time you don't fill all of your board seats because the central hub of Heyworth is all one district. So of course, the people interested, are from there. So after we don't fill vacancies, we have to go to an at-large referendum, which would mean majority, but it didn't pass. There were a couple districts that was like 3-2 on votes. So we still have these old, smaller congressional districts, and sometimes it's hard to get people from those small areas. So we'll be working on that and promoting and advertising that. Yeah, you can't have any more than 4 from your main district. So that leaves me going to the outskirts and trying to fill seats.
The general election is today. Keep it to regional radio tonight for election night coverage as the polls close and races go final. A rural Logan County school district is taking aim at a rising trend, shooting sports. Mount Pulaski Schools is launching the program as an extracurricular activity, tapping into a wave of interest across rural Illinois. Superintendent Jason Spank says it's not yet an IHSA-sanctioned sport, but that hasn't slowed the enthusiasm.
So it's not IHSA, however, it is on the list of up-and-coming sports in the IHSA. So essentially, you'll find certain sports or activities on that list, and then once they get to a certain threshold, then the IHSA will look at adopting those for an official sport. But for right now, it's through the USA Clay Target League, and we've had significant success over the recent years. It was way before 2018, but just some recent years. In 2018, we were first in the state through the USA Clay Target League for trap. In 2021, we were 3rd place. 2024, we were state runner-up and national runner-up. We got 2nd place in the nation for trap shooting. In skeet, in 2019, we were state champs. 2021, state champs. 22 and 23, we were runner-up. And then last year in 24, we were state champs again. Sporting clays, we were state champs in 2024. So again, a lot of really high successes with our students. And we've actually, I believe we had 86 students that were interested in shooting sports. And I think around 75 are out this year, which is incredible numbers. And so obviously the coaches have been breaking down, the most strategic groups to allow us to be competitive in those areas. But something that we're incredibly excited to be able to fully support for our students.
To make it official, the district had to update its firearms policy, a big step for a school. Spang explains the focus is on safety with strict rules for securing and transporting guns.
And then the big thing really is the full adoption now of our shooting sports program for Mount Pulaski. And so, long story short, we adopted some board policy with regards to disciplining our students. The old language in there stated that if obviously any students brought guns to school, that they would be expelled for 1 to 2 years. We amended that. For the sake of shooting sports, we've gone to the Decatur Gun Club. And so that's obviously where we practice. But obviously, we still have to transport kids over there. That's about a 30-minute drive. Our shooting sports coaches last year, we've got a bunch of people that volunteer, but our head coach last year was a gentleman who is an Illinois State police officer. We had an assistant coach that was a Logan County police officer. And so they absolutely put safety, the whole program puts safety at the forefront of everything they do. So essentially, we amended board policy to allow just guns, no ammunition, but guns to be on school grounds for the sake of our coaches securing those, locking those, and putting them in a vehicle to transport over to the Decatur Gun Club. That's overseen by our coaches. We've obviously contacted our insurance company, and so they're fully aware and in full support. It's not foreign to them. But hats off to Jay Greening, who was our school attorney. He's done extensive research on this. It's something that we were excited to be able to fully adopt and support as far as, fuel for the activity buses going back and forth.
Spang is quick to clarify and crystal clear. No guns come into the school during the day. They are brought in either before or after school and secured at all times.
Yeah, and I do want to emphasize that it's never during the instructional day. Never is that allowed. And so it's explicit in our language that it's either before school, before students arrive, or after school once students leave for the day, where we adhere to our very, very strict policies. I mean, there's a contract with students and parents that they have to sign that was recommended by our school attorney. And then a couple other areas as far as next steps, obviously amending board policies, establishing clear safety protocols and participation guidelines, consulting our insurance provider, and ensuring compliance with reporting requirements and maintaining open communication with all law enforcement. So this has been a long process, but it's something we ran through with a fine-tooth comb. Again, Jay Greening, who's our school attorney, has done extensive research on this, and so we are excited, but obviously safety is always number one. And so, so to answer your question, that's never during the school day.
Shooting sports are more than a pastime in rural Illinois. They're a growing movement from the Grand American's legacy in Vandalia to over 63 million Americans hitting ranges nationwide. It's a trend Mount Pulaski Schools is tapping into. News time is 20 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Tuesday morning. We've got plenty more to get to coming up on the WHOW Morning Show.
Baum Chevrolet Buick offers full transportation options while giving you peace of mind. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. This is what we do every day. We listen to you, give you options for routine maintenance, major mechanical problems, or collision repairs with a staff that's knowledgeable to find the best option for you. Baum Chevrolet Buick, your full-service dealer. See us at baumchevybuick.com right from the start.
News time is 21 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Tuesday. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks today for this expanded local newscast. Illinois Farm Bureau Director of Business and Regulatory Affairs Bill Bodine offered public comment to the Illinois Pollution Control Board as they consider adopting California emissions limits and EV sales mandates.
I tried to focus on, one, the impact that this would have on our farmers and specifically around the area of increased costs, because zero emission vehicles, whether they be light duty or heavy duty, there is information that shows that they have a higher upfront cost to invest in that equipment. Obviously, with the financial stress our farmers are facing, that's going to present, if they want to buy a new vehicle, that's going to present challenges for them to make those upfront costs. But then we also anticipated increasing the cost of used vehicles as more people hold on to their internal combustion engine vehicles longer, or seek out those internal combustion engine vehicles because of concerns about the range of electric vehicles, the charging infrastructure associated with them. So we tried to focus on the economic impact it would have for farmers and rural residents. We also shared concerns about the availability of charging infrastructure within rural areas. It's severely lacking if we're going to move to electric vehicles. The ability of the electric grid infrastructure within rural areas to support electric vehicle charging. Concerns about what's called resource adequacy, or just the general availability of electricity in Illinois and what that's going to mean for costs. And then tried to encourage the Pollution Control Board to shift its focus to look at opportunities to expand the use of biofuels.
Bodine also offered written comments to the Illinois Pollution Control Board. It was another successful Leaders to Washington trip last week. It's all about the engagement of those local county farm bureau members.
Last week, we took 21 farmers and staff to Washington to advocate on behalf of our priorities and trade and tariffs and taxes and farm bill and ethanol and year-round E15. And the members showed up and they told the story. And like I told our members, before we get to the field work, we need to do some hill work. And so we got on Capitol Hill and we spent 2 days talking to the congressional delegation, our senators, and administrative officials. And our members had an amazing opportunity in USDA with meeting with Secretary Brooke Rollins. She visited with us, and on day one of her job, the RMA administrator, Pat Swanson, was in office, and she came and talked to our farmers as well. So our farmers talked firsthand to the administrative officials that implement these programs, and the stories were heard.
Ryan Whitehouse is the Director of National Legislation for the Illinois Farm Bureau. Growing Matters annual Be Sure campaign has returned for the 2025 planting season and growing season to promote proper stewardship efforts around the state, around the rather safe usage of crop protection products. Andy Levine is with the American Seed Trade Association.
Well, we always start with proper stewardship when we're talking with the use of any agriculture or agrochemicals or pesticides in their operations. It's important that they're properly used and they're targeted to what specific pest or disease the farmer may be dealing with or trying to deter. And so that stewardship practice is something that we work very closely with the approval process of moving the pesticides through the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to ensure safety and certainty in the effectiveness. And part of that is properly handling it so there's not an adverse effect on humans or the environment. So that stewardship is that umbrella that properly handled throughout the entire process of applying that product.
So you're with the American Seed Trade Association, ASTA. So a little bit, I guess, maybe a thumbnail sketch about that group and its involvement with this campaign.
Yeah, ASTA represents just about every company that produces seed for planting across the country. We say from alfalfa to zucchini and conventional, organic, and biotech seed. So we really believe that it's the farmer or the consumer's, choice to pick what types of products they want to plant. But the important use of these products in seed treatment is to ensure that protection of the genetics when they plant that seed in the ground. You're coming out of winter, you don't know what pest or disease are in the soil, and you want to make sure that you're protecting that seed so that it can grow up into a healthy plant and produce the crop that they're looking to produce.
More information is at growingmatters.org/be sure. The campaign was launched in 2019. What are the priorities for Illinois Congressman Darren LaHood in a new farm bill?
So Obviously, crop insurance has made a lot of efficiencies over the last 5 years. But crop insurance is essential. Having that within the Farm Bill, that is kind of the backdrop to help our farmers if they run into weather issues or problems with their crops. That has to be there. And again, that's kind of a foundational piece. So crop insurance, a number of our market access programs in there that allow USDA to market our commodities that are produced in my district and across the country is vitally important in there also. So those are two that stand out, sure. And then there's other local CRP programs that help my farmers depending on the area that you're in. But those are three that I think that I look at as priorities for my district.
LaHood from Dunlap represents Illinois' 16th congressional district. The Illinois Nutrient Research Education Council, or NREC, was created in 2012. Another project year is finished, and a 2024 annual report is being finalized.
So each year, we publish a summary of all of the NREC-funded research that happened, during the previous crop year. So this is actually our 2024 annual report, and it reflects the results of all of the research that would have wrapped up with harvest last fall. So, just really a great summary of all the different projects. It gives a really good look at what would be the ROI, or the return on investment, that farmers and retailers are getting for the investment that they make into NREC through the fertilizer assessment that they pay. So it's really just broken down by subject areas. So if you're particularly interested in what work has been done on cover crops, you can read an update on what we're seeing there. If you're interested in the phosphorus side, or even on what we've learned about stream bank erosion.
The more information is available at illinoisnrec.org. News time is 28 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Tuesday. Time now for a look at this morning's obituaries. 59-year-old Susan Mary Dion Brooks of Heyworth passed away on March 15th. A celebration of life for 59-year-old Susan Mary Dion Brooks will be on Saturday, April 5th at Heyworth American Legion Post 624 on Main Street in Heyworth. The celebration will be held from noon to 4 p.m. Military funeral honors will be conducted at 3 p.m. Memorials can be made in Sue's memory to the Ronald McDonald House at rmhc.org. 39-year-old Enrique Alvarez of Bloomington passed away March 27th at St. Joseph Medical Center in Bloomington. Services for 39-year-old Enrique Alvarez will be at 10 a.m. Tuesday, that's today, at Calvert Funeral Home in Clinton, with Ken Rutledge officiating. Burial will follow at Lisenby Cemetery in Lane. The visitation will be from 5 to 7 p.m. last evening at the funeral home. In lieu of flowers, memorials can be directed to Abel's Education Fund. Get news anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
In Washington, 3 special elections with national impact are being held today in Central Florida. There are 2 races to fill congressional seats. One is for the post vacated by White House National Security Advisor Michael Waltz. And in Wisconsin, a state Supreme Court contest is being watched closely all around the country, since the liberal candidate in that race says that she would support gerrymandering 2 Republican seats in Congress off the map. Reciprocal tariffs are on President Trump's agenda. He's planning to roll out those new tariffs tomorrow, although he could get some details later today. And while the president is constitutionally limited to 2 terms in office, President Trump has been toying with the idea of a 3rd term. In the White House, he continues to do so. On Wall Street, the Dow futures down 232, NASDAQ futures off 79 points. More details at srnnews.com.
TOS.com.
With SRN Sports, I'm George Williams. In NBA action last night, a close game between the Pacers and the Kings, won by the Pacers 111-109 from 16 points down. Elsewhere by 4 points, the Hornets over the Jazz 110-106. Also by 4 points, the Nets over the Mavericks 113-109. It was the Clippers over the Magic. Heat beat the Wizards. Celtics down the Grizzlies. Thunder routed the Bulls. The Lakers over the Rockets NHL scores 2 shootouts. Devils over the Wild 3-2, and the Flames beat the Avalanche 3-2. Flyers defeated the Predators 2-1. Stars over the Kraken 3-1. The NCAA Women's Elite Eight completed play last night with UConn upsetting top-seeded USC 78-64. Texas beat TCU 58-47. That sets up UConn against UCLA, and Texas playing defending champion South Carolina. This is SRN Sports. Major League Baseball, in extra innings last night, Angels over the Cardinals 5-4. Giants beat the Astros 7-2. Padres over the Guardians. Tigers beat the Mariners. It was the Cubs over the Athletics 18-3. Dodgers beat the Braves 6-1. The Royals beat the Brewers 11-1, and the White Sox shut the Twins out 9-0. Phillies over the Rockies 6-1. Mets beat the Marlins 10-4. Reds slugged past the Rangers 14-3. It was the Rays over the Pirates 6-1, and the Blue Jays beat the Nationals 5-2. And the big discussion point in the Major League is the so-called torpedo model bat. Looks a little bit more like a bowling pin rather than the long, rounded, traditional bat, and it got a lot of attention when the Yankees hit a record for the team, 9 home runs. But the jury's still out by a lot of players whether they prefer the traditional bat or the new ones. This is SRN Sports.
Time now for a look at sports. I'm Seth Lawrence with this report. Brody Bilodeau and Carter Foran led Monticello to an 8-2 win over Lincoln in non-conference high school baseball action at Lincoln High School on Monday. Bilodeau fired 3 shutout innings. The senior southpaw struck out 5, walked 1, and permitted 2 hits. Foran followed with 4 innings of 2-run relief. 1 run was earned. The senior struck out 6 and allowed 4 hits with 0 walks. Colton Vance led the Sages, going 3 for 4 with a double and an RBI. Brian Wilchin was 3 for 4 with a run scored. Foran was also 2 for 4 with a walk and a run scored at the top of the order for Monticello. Ike Young finished 1 for 2 with a triple, a run driven in, 2 runs scored, and 2 walks. Hayden Romano was 2 for 4, and Cole Basak was 1 for 4 with a triple. Austin Lucas led Lincoln, going 3 for 4 with a stolen base. Drew Hayes recorded the only RBI of the afternoon for the Rail Splitters. Ashton Corley finished 2 for 4 with a run scored. Lincoln falls to 2-5 overall. They will host Springfield Southeast on Tuesday. Monticello is 8-2. They'll host Tri-Valley today. An 11-run third inning propelled Normal Community to a 12-0 run rule 5-inning win in Big 12 Conference high school baseball action on Monday in Normal. Landon Corbin tossed 5 innings of shutout ball with 7 strikeouts and allowed just 2 hits. Max Heineman led the Ironmen, finishing 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs and a run scored. Drew Stevens and Carter Harris each drove in 2 for Normal Community. Gavin Swartz tripled and Andrew Nauer doubled, each driving in a run. Kyle Beatty and Gavin Michaels drove in runs as well for Normal Community. The Ironmen are 4-3 overall and 1-0 in the Big 12. They travel to Peoria, Notre Dame on Wednesday. MJ Hall struck out 8 more batters, but took the tough luck loss to Tuscola 2-1 on Monday afternoon in non-conference high school baseball action in Tuscola. Hall surrendered 2 runs in the first inning, but the Bombers could not solve the Warriors. Jackson Finch's sac fly in the top of the first scored the only run for Argenta-Oreana. Hall finished 6 innings, allowing 2 runs on 5 hits with 8 strikeouts and issued 2 walks. Carson West was 2 for 3 for the Bombers. Carter Logue, Ashton Sample, and Lucas Camfield also recorded hits. Argenta-Oreana drops to 3-2. They will host Taylorville on Tuesday. A late surge by Normal West wasn't enough as the Wildcats fell to Champaign Centennial 7-6 in Big 12 high school baseball action in Champaign on Monday. The Wildcats found themselves down 4-0 after 2 innings. Sean Jenkins' base hit in the 4th inning scored 2 runs to cut the deficit in half 4-2. After a run-scoring error and a sac fly, Normal West tied the score at 4. The Chargers answered with a 3-run fourth inning to go up 7-4. Cooper Temple scored on a wild pitch, and Chase Newth's base hit scored a run to bring the Wildcats within 7-6. Normal tying run picked off at first base in the top of the 7th inning. Drew Hart was 2 for 2 for Normal West. Newth, Jenkins, Torrin Delary, and Nolan Schultz each drove in runs for the Wildcats. Normal West is 6-2. They start 0-1 in the Big 12, though they will host Centennial. Tuscola outlasted Argenta-Oreana 8-7 in 8 innings in a high school softball thriller Monday from Argenta-Oreana. Gracie Manning drove in 5 runs for the Lady Bombers, finishing 3 for 5 with a 2-run home run in the 4th inning that broke a 2-2 tie. Elisa Armstrong was 1 for 4 with a double and 2 runs scored. Bryn Jones and Piper Jones drove in runs for Argenta-Oreana. After Manning's 2-run homer to give the Lady Bombers the lead in the 4th, Tuscola tied the score with runs in the top of the 5th inning. The Lady Bombers went up 6-4 after 2 runs in the bottom of the 6th inning. The Lady Warriors answered with 3 runs in the top of the 7th inning to lead 7-6. Bryn Jones' RBI single in the bottom of the 7th inning tied the game at 7 for Argenta-Oreana. Kinsey Cleland gave the Lady Warriors the lead for good in the top of the 8th inning with an RBI single. Argenta-Oreana falls to 0-5 on the season. They will host Warrensburg-Latham on Wednesday. St. Joseph Ogden made quick work of Heyworth with a 9-run 4th inning and a 10-run rule the Lady Hornets 10-0 in non-conference high school softball action in Heyworth on Tuesday. Grace Streens doubled twice for the Lady Hornets, finishing 2 for 2. It was the only offense Heyworth could muster against Tamira Blackburn Kelly, who struck out 11 across 4 innings of shutout ball for the Lady Spartans. Emma McKinney drove in 6 for St. Joe. Blackburn Kelly was 3 for 4 with a double. The Lady Spartans put the game away with a 9-run 4th inning. Heyworth falls to 1-3 overall. They will host Hardham on Thursday. Martin Perez threw 6 hitless innings in a sparkling Chicago White Sox debut as they beat the Twins 9-0 on Monday. Andrew Vaughn and Andrew Benintendi hit home runs in the 1st and 2nd innings. Michael A. Taylor made it 9-0 with a 2-run drive in the 3rd against Twins starter Chris Paddock, sending the Sox to an easy win after they lost 2 of 3 in their season-opening series against the Angels. Perez threw 93 pitches while tying a career high with 9 strikeouts and 3 walks. The left-hander retired the first 11 batters before walking Ryan Jeffers.
Called strike 3. Cutter, right down the middle, and Miranda took it. Looked like last place he was looking for a pitch was down the middle. 3-2, he got him swinging. Twins without a hit through 5. Full count. Runner will not be running in this situation. 3-2, he struck him out swinging. On a high cutter. Swing and a miss, strike 3. 7 strikeouts, including 3 in a row. 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. He has punched out 4 in a row, all swinging. Perez into action. Called strike 3. He has tied his career high with 9 strikeouts. And he's through 6. No hitting the Twins.
Vaughn set the tone when he connected after Miguel Vargas led off the inning with a single. And Luis Robert Jr. walked. His drive to left center just cleared the wall.
And a swing and a line drive deep to left field, and it is gone! Just high enough to get it over the 8-foot wall. It's 3-0.
Robert had a sac fly in the 2nd before Benintendi made it 7-0 with a 3-run drive to right for his 2nd homer of the season and his 100th of his career.
And Benintendi gets a hold of one high and deep to right field. Way back there. It's going to go. It's another 3-run homer.
You talked about how big the 3-run home run is in an offensive attack. Well, you didn't say how big 2 of them were.
Taylor's home run in the third made it 9-0.
Swinging a fly ball, well hit, straight away center. Buxton at the fence, he leaps, it's gone! Forget the defense. It's about offense today for Michael A. Taylor. A 2-run blast. It's 9-0.
In the bottom of the second, the White Sox pulled off a double steal.
Well, let me just say this. If this is put on from Will Venable on the bench, if they put the double steal on after the failed bunt, that's just brilliant. And do it on the first pitch. Like, we didn't get them over, but we've got speed. They can get over on their own. That's beautiful. Well, let me just say this. If this is put on from Will Venable on the bench, if they put the double steal on after the failed bunt, that's just brilliant. And do it on the first pitch. Like, we didn't get them over, but we've got speed. They can get over on their own. That's beautiful.
Simeon Woods Richardson gets the ball for the Twins tonight, while the Sox counter with Shane Smith, who makes his major league debut. Here tonight's action right here on WHOW. Carson Kelly hit for the cycle and drove in 5 runs. Michael Busch launched a 2-run homer on the way to a career-high 4 RBIs as the Cubs pounded the A's 18-3 Monday night to spoil their first game in their new Northern California home. Busch connected in the first inning, and Dansby Swanson followed with a homer on a blustery night when the wind carried balls over the fence, just as Cubs manager Craig Counsell predicted. Indeed, there were plenty of offensive fireworks in the first major league game at Sutter Health Park in California's capital region. With 21 hits, the Cubs amply backed right-hander Ben Brown, who struck out 5 in 5 innings for his second career win. They scored their most runs since an 18-8 victory at Pittsburgh last August. The 18 runs allowed by the A's were the most by any team in a home opener in 100 years, according to Sport Radar. The Browns allowed 21 to the Indians in 1925. A's shortstop Jacob Wilson hit his first career home run leading off the third in front of a sellout crowd of 12,119. Kelly homered in the fourth inning, had two-run single in the fifth, doubled and walked in the sixth, and tripled in the eighth. The previous Cubs player to hit for the cycle was Mark Grace in May of 1993 against the Padres, before Kelly was even born in 1994. No catcher for the Cubs has accomplished the feat since Randy Hundley in August of 1966 against Houston. Kelly even walked twice. His run-scoring triple made it 17-3. Justin Steele takes the mound in his third start of 2025. Luis Severino makes his second start for the A's after pitching the opener Thursday in Seattle.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Daytime highs approaching 53. Today, under overcast skies, winds out of the southeast 10 to 15 miles per hour. Cloudy skies expected